Yo, what's going on, guys? And we're doing the off-season preview priorities for the Phoenix Suns. So before we start today's video, I want to hear down below in the comment section, what do you guys think the Phoenix Suns need to prioritize this offseason? Do you guys believe the rumors that Frank Vogel is going to be fired? That's what I want to hear. So when we do the predictions video after the lottery, I can use some of your thoughts to help create my prediction. So hit that like and subscribe button and follow me on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, and go check my workout at hoopshype.com. So what are we specifically hearing? I think it's definitely an interesting situation, as the first thing I want to say is Shams Charania reported that inside the waning voice of Frank Vogel, the offensive issues around the Suns and their big three and what comes next for one of the most expensive rosters after a first-round exit. He says sources said that Durant had persistent issues with the offense, feeling that he was being relegated to the corner far too often and not having the proper designs to play to his strength, as the offense was built around pick and rolls, according to Shams Charania and Doug Holler of The Athletic. I think these are good points to bring up. So, this is obviously, when we look at the one next, I think the biggest things is, what are the contracts looking? Again, what went wrong here was obviously, I think the chemistry was a problem. I think the Bartelstein is the governor and his daddy is the Bartelstein agency, and they filled out the roster with basically all Bartelstein players. And after acquiring Durant and Beal, the Suns are projected to be in the dreaded second apron and will pay $68 million in luxury tax alone for the season. That's $260 million. And the roster lacks two things: a pure point guard and a defensive stopper at the wing or the center. They dealt away their expensive and aging Chris Paul and also got rid of Landry Shamet for Bradley Beal. Kevin Young's gone. I think there's a lot that, and the thing is Booker supposedly is not himself. Booker is not playing in his own way. So what's next is, after they lost this, I think they're entering the summer to build around Booker, Durant, Beal, Allen, Nurkic, and Royce O'Neal. So Allen signed that 4-year, $70 million contract. So looking forward, they got decisions to make, and defense is the whole thing. So this was a team that, again, they're I think it was like 10th ranked offense and like the 14th ranked defense, something along those lines. So there's things that need to happen. Now, the trading for a trio of true superstars is not what they expected when they got swept. Now, there are some things that are going to have to happen. They went 49-33 with what was supposed to be below what they would have done. This was supposed to be like the big three that everyone was supposed to be dreaded. The Suns were nevertheless supposed to challenge for the NBA Finals with adding Bradley Beal as a needle mover and Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. They were going to have Beal and Booker be the duo point guard. Now, Durant, $51 million, Beal $50 million, Devin Booker $49 million. Joseph Nurkic is making $18 million, Grayson Allen's making $15 million, Naz Little $6.7 million, David Roddy $2.8 million. Honestly, I would try to flip Joseph Nurkic and Naz Little. And this is most of the top half of the rotation, making it harder to shift away from this ideology or like this team construct. Under contract, if you include the player options, Eric Gordon, Josh Okogie, Damian Lee, and Drew Eubanks, they don't get picked up. They still have David Roddy on the roster, but outside of that, everybody else is going to be a free agent on their team. And that includes Royce O'Neal, who is going to be, I believe, a free agent. Correct me if I'm wrong. So David Roddy, if they expect him to replace Royce O'Neal's minutes, then they don't have to worry about that. But this team isn't big. This team doesn't have a lot of creativity, and it's going to become harder to find ways to improve the team externally, given the self-imposed spending restrictions through the new collective bargaining agreement, deliberately, put punitive actions towards the largest spenders, both in the luxury tax payments and what mechanisms they can even use. The Suns cashed in most of their chips to get to this point, to the point that the Beal trade was cobbled together with a myriad of second-round picks and pick swaps to compensate for the lack of available draft capital. With so much of that gone, with so much salary already committed, the roster is illiquid and will require free agents taking discounts. So the new CBA is going to affect them, as they are far over the tax in the second apron. The teams with payrolls over the second apron threshold are no longer able to aggregate contracts to trade for a single player, making more money, send out cash in trades, use trade exceptions created in prior seasons, or take back more money in an outgoing salary deal. So, considering the aforementioned absence of quality draft capital and the illiquidity of the big contracts, these restrictions do not give the Suns much of the ability to do anything in terms of the trade market. So furthermore, the Suns are limited in free agency. They don't have a biennial exception. The mid-level exception is reduced in size. They may not even be usable at all. Any payroll added is charged at much higher rates, all of which would be less of a problem where there's not so much to do. And it's crucial that they get a discount on good players. So Josh Okogie, of minimum free agent pickup, he was good last year, and I thought he was going to get a bigger contract, but he stayed, and they kind of like on a prove-it deal, and he played his part, providing rotation and playing some defense, but I really don't see there's much value in Okogie exercising his player option when there's the realistic possibility of him getting more money in a new deal, albeit could it be in Phoenix? Maybe, but he could also go to another team. People want him. And then you got Drew Eubanks, who his whole career, Drew Eubanks has been a solid backup big. He can grab rebounds, put up, points. But besides that, not much of a rim protector. He's more of a backup. Damian Lee was hurt all year. He's gone. He's a guy who could pick up the player option because he knows he might not be in the NBA if he doesn't have that player option picked up, if he doesn't pick it up. Gordon, I wonder, he's another year older, and for the minimum salary, he seems like a guy that can stay there if he wants to keep the minutes. He could be a guy who leaves. Royce O'Neal, I think he's going to get poached. So the projected salary cap is $141 million. They're at $205. Their non-guaranteed salaries are $11 million. Their guaranteed salaries are $194. They have 11 players on that roster. For them, their spending options, they have a trade exception that's going to expire July 11th of Cameron Payne. The Isaiah Todd is 1.8, and then Tamani Kamara is 1.1. Cameron Payne 6.5, and Frank Vogel at this point. I mean, Matt HBS said he's 100% behind the coach. There's no problem, but there was reports of him being on the hot seat. I think it makes sense because at this point, he didn't really help this team out building-wise, and their offense did get better, but their defense is lacking. And I know he was given a shit sandwich in terms of roster construction, not really necessarily his fault, but Look, Durant averaged 27 points, 5th best in the league, and his field goal percentage was nearly 5 percentage points off last season's accuracy. So I think one of the bigger things is obviously Durant. The offense didn't click for Durant, and in the playoffs, we saw Chris Finch and using Jaden McDaniels and others to pick up Booker and Beal full court, disrupting Phoenix, and Kevin Young was in charge of the offensive side of things, which was a heavy dose of pick and roll for Booker and Beal, because I think that's the easiest offensive concept to run for a player that isn't a point guard. And I think the biggest thing is finding a point guard and then going out and trying to find bigs like Daniel Gafford. Maybe trading for like a Robert Williams. I mean, you can't trade again with Portland. I mean, you could, but like that's just not going to happen. Booker this season, or like really in the playoffs, he just, for the first time ever, he kind of just looked like a guy who got pushed to the shadows, and I don't know. He really just did not seem involved, and I don't know if it's been the best thing. I think that a coaching change might actually be the best thing. It sounds like Frank might have lost the locker room at this point. I mean, I don't have connections in that roster, but it's I just, when you have all this money here and you try to bring in veterans like Thad Young and Isaiah Thomas at the end of the season just to be locker room presence, I don't know. And on Sunday, they played with some urgency, but Booker looked like himself at this game. It just wasn't enough, and they looked outmatched against the team that was better than them. And at this point, I've said it throughout the video, I think it's going to be hard to truly figure out what's the next steps, and that's going to be huge for James Jones and whoever the hell the coach is going to be. But I'm here for it. I think it couldn't be fun. But if you made it to the end of the video, hit that like and subscribe button. What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts, and we'll be back with our predictions video in a few weeks. Peace.